You don't have to be in bed for 3 days to be burnt out. You don't have to collapse, quit, or have some huge breakdown. Burnout often builds slowly, quietly. It hides behind your thoughts and your habits, the tiny ways that you start slipping away from yourself. And if you're not paying attention, it can take over your life before you even realize it's happening. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the red flags that people miss, and certainly the ones that I missed. The ones I now help other business owners recognize before it's too late. Hi, my name's Trevor. I run a restaurant and cocktail bar that's now won national awards and been ranked in the UK's top 50 cocktail bars. But I didn't come from a hospitality background. I built the whole thing from scratch, no experience, just passion and pure determination. And for a while, that adrenaline kept me going. But then came what my wife and I refer to as the dark years. I became someone I didn't recognize. I was always stressed, always on edge. I snapped at my wife over tiny things and then felt ashamed. I drank more than I should, I stopped sleeping properly, and eventually I stopped feeling like me. Anxiety crept in like a fog, and first it was background noise, and then it became my whole soundtrack. I had panic attacks, one behind the venue bins during a shift, one when I was lighting tea lights during the setup, and finally one in the car with my wife in the passenger seat. And that last one was the first time it had happened in front of somebody, and it terrified us both. That was the moment I knew something had to change. And one of the first changes that I made was learning how to spot the signs before burnout swallowed me whole. Because it doesn't always crash in like a storm. Sometimes it drips in like a leaky tap until the floor's soaked and you're still wondering where it started. Now I help other hospitality owners and managers and leaders notice the water before it floods. Not because I have it all figured out, because I definitely don't, but because I've walked far enough ahead on the journey to show others the way back. Burnout rarely kicks the door in. It knocks gently first, and then again, until it's screaming. And by that point, you've been ignoring it for months or maybe even years. So let me walk you through some of the signs that I ignored for far too long. One of the earliest was how short I became with the people that I loved. Not at work, not with staff, but at home, with my wife, with friends. I didn't mean to, but I was tired, I was depleted. And when someone asked something simple, I'd just snap and then I'd hate myself for it. That guilt would turn into shame, and that shame would just feed the cycle. Then came the avoidance. I found myself dodging decisions, delaying emails, not replying to suppliers, pushing off conversations that I knew I needed to have, not because I didn't care, but because my brain was just fried. Even simple choices felt like heavy lifting. I was exhausted all the time, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I'd sleep, but I'd never feel rested. I'd take a night off and still wake up tense. It wasn't rest, it was shutdown. And somewhere along the way, I lost the buzz for what I'd built. I stopped getting excited about ideas. I didn't feel creative. I didn't feel like a leader. I'm just a manager of my stress. And that's one of the dangerous signs of a hospitality business owner, when you stop dreaming, when you can't see the future because the present is just too foggy. And when things got hard, I leaned into the wrong coping strategies: alcohol, working more, avoiding people. I'd convinced myself that I was being productive when really I was just avoiding the truth. Burnout doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it just looks like numbing. Sometimes it looks like isolation. And sometimes it looks like success on the outside, but it feels like emptiness on the inside. I started feeling like a fraud, even when the venue was full, even when the staff were doing well, and even when we were winning all these amazing awards. That voice in my head just kept saying, "You're failing, you're not doing enough." That disconnect, that gap between how life looks and how it feels, is one of the loudest red flags of all. And maybe the hardest one to admit. I just didn't feel like me anymore. I stopped laughing, I stopped being creative, I stopped being playful. Burnout doesn't just drain your energy, it just chips away at your identity. And you can carry that for a long time without even realizing it's there, until something breaks. Now, if any of this is hitting a nerve, if you recognize some of these signs in yourself, I've created something to help. It's a free worksheet called the Burnout Red Flags Checklist, and it's available right now inside my free school community. It's not just a tick box list, it's a reflection tool. It helps you identify patterns, track how often they're showing up, and make a plan to interrupt the cycle before it goes too far. Because when you catch it early, you can come back faster and stronger. You don't have to crash to earn a reset. Sometimes all it takes is awareness, space, and support. You'll also find things like reset planners, wellness tracking tools, and my time audit sheet. That's all designed for hospitality owners who are carrying more than anyone realizes. Come join us. It's free and it might be exactly what you didn't know you needed. These red flags don't show up all at once. They creep in gradually. And if you're anything like I was, you'll just keep brushing them off. You'll call it a busy season. You'll tell yourself that it will pass. But when that season never ends, when you can't remember the last time that you felt like you, that's not a phase, that's burnout. And I promise you, it's easier to come back from than you think. This isn't about being broken. It's about being full. It's about being human. You carry a lot. You deserve the tools and the support to carry it well. You matter too. Don't forget that.